Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. I started off this week, today's Monday, looking at the news, and this caught my eye. I was looking at Israel 365. They have an article that says Pew statistics show Americans view Jews, Protestants, Catholics more favorably than Muslims and Mormons. So I had to look into that and see what's going on here. So before we jump into that, here's the update on the Book of Mormon Sharing Challenge. Uh, there's been quite a bump here over the last couple days. So since the last time that I reported, there was an increase from the 17th to the 18th of 102. 102 new copies of the Book of Mormon that have been sent out and added to the tracker. So that was pretty amazing. We have to go all the way back to March 7th to see anything that big. And before that, all the way to January 17th. So that was huge. And then from over the weekend, so far, we've had an increase of 21. I'll probably do another video today, and that'll probably go up. And then from the 17th until today, we've had an increase of 10 people that have joined the challenge. So please make sure to do this if you're listening. There's thousands of you. Please, at the very least, just share one and then let me know. Ideally, we can get this number into the thousands. And if we did that, then this number over here would probably be crazy. All right, so let's get back to this. So Israel 365, excuse me, I'm going to just read this little part here and then go directly to Pew and see what they say. It says, a total of 17% of non-Muslims saw Muslims favorably, compared to 22% unfavorably. 17% of non-atheists saw atheism at least somewhat favorably, compared to 25% unfavorably. And just 14% of non-Mormons had favorable views of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, compared to 26% unfavorable. That's a 12% differential. So I wanted to go right to the source and see what they were referring to here. Israel 365 was mostly concerned about how Jews were viewed because, it's an Israeli news company. So there's a little graphic here that we can look at. Let me pull this up. So this is how it breaks down. Jews are actually at the top with 35% under the very or somewhat favorable category or categories, and then only 6% that are very or somewhat unfavorable. And I know that in the Jewish world, there's a lot of concern right now about anti-Semitism. Rabbi Gerfein talks about it all the time, about it being on the increase in the United States. And whenever he brings it up, usually he brings up Kanye West. But I don't know. According to this poll, it looks like Jews are on top compared to other major religious groups in the United States. Of course, a poll can't tell us everything, right? So I don't know. So take it for what it is. But anyway, after Jews, you have mainline Protestants. The way that they listed it here, anyway. I guess they're taking the balance of opinion, favorable to unfavorable. So Jews are at 28 plus points. Mainline Protestants are next with 20. Catholics are next with 16. Evangelical Christians at plus 2. And then atheists, -4. Muslims, -5. And Latter-day Saints, -10. With only 15% very or somewhat favorable. And then the only ones that have a higher very / somewhat unfavorable rating or percentage than us would be the evangelicals. So for that, it goes them, they're the worst, followed by us, and then atheists, and then Muslims, and then Catholics, then Mainline, and then Jews. So I don't know how much this surprises me. I guess I am a little bit surprised that the Jews are so high up. Um, I'm surprised that the atheists are performing so well, but they are. So this is a little disheartening, you know, being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's sad. Definitely don't want it this low. Let's go back to the article. So when we do Control F and type in Mormons, because that's what they usually use, the term that they use in this article, I'm just going to go through and kind of like read wherever it says Mormons, because I couldn't highlight for some reason on this page, so I'm just going to have to do it that way. So far more Americans express favorable than unfavorable views of Jews, mainline Protestants, and Catholics, according to a recent Pew Research Center survey that measures U.S. adults' abroad sentiments towards several religious groups. At the other end of the spectrum, more Americans express negative than positive attitudes toward atheists, Muslims, and Mormons, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay, let's find the next instance here. Americans overall, I better zoom in. Americans overall also express more favorable than unfavorable attitudes toward mainline Catholics. Okay. On the other hand, the balance of opinion is negative in the case of Mormons. A quarter of Americans say they hold very or somewhat unfavorable views of Mormons, while 15% express favorable opinions. More than half of Americans say they either feel neutral about or do not know enough to rate mainline Protestants at 59%, Muslims 59%, Mormons 59%, Jews 58%, and atheists 55%. So that's referring to this midsection right here, don't know enough. So I wonder if that's like a hint as to why we're so low, because we tie with mainline and Muslims for the highest percentage of people that don't know enough about us. You know, I don't know how that affects this entire thing. And that might be an area where we can improve, you guys. You know, are you reaching out to people that aren't members of the church? Are you making friends? Are you trying to be involved in the community? I know right now, as the world gets worse and worse, we have the tendency to want to like withdraw. Um, and I have nothing against homeschooling. We tried to do homeschooling, but one thing to think about is if we withdraw from society in different areas, whether it's school or just socially or whatever, it may leave this opportunity here for people to not know about us and therefore maybe have an unfavorable view just because they don't know many members of the church. We are on the smaller side. But actually, let's see. Um, let's do this. LDS membership statistics. I'm going to go to this Wikipedia article. Okay, so let's go down to number of members per country. So some people pointed out, because we were recently talking about the Philippines, how it's a miracle that they've grown so much since the 60s. And some people pointed out the percentage of the country that's LDS. That's like another thing to consider when you're comparing, because like I was comparing the Philippines to Canada and other places like that. And that's true. That's something that I didn't take into account. But let's sort this by percentage of that country's population that are members of the church. So we've already known for a while that Tonga is at the top. They're at 64.73% according to this Wikipedia article, and I know that that's true because I know it's at least 63% because of a church article that we looked at last year when there was that big volcano, or the big Yeah, it was a big undersea volcano that erupted near Tonga at the beginning of 2022. So you have all these Polynesian islands where they have a higher percentage of their population that are members of the church. Could you imagine living in a country where over half of the population are members of the church? Well, that's the case in Tonga. And then Samoa is almost there. They're at 40%. So anyway, if we look at the United States, the United States is actually on the higher end compared to other countries. The United States is at 2%. How about we take a look at Canada? Canada. Canada is only at about half a percent, 0.52%. I thought that would have been higher. Brazil is at 0.67, Australia 0.59. Mexico has a full percentage point and then some, 1.16%. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is we really do have a responsibility to reach out to others, not just to proselyte, not just to give out the Book of Mormon, right? We should be giving out the Book of Mormon. We should be engaging in at appropriate times and not in a forced way and not in a salesman type of way. We should be sharing our beliefs um, and being an example, but at the same time, we have to just be engaged, just in general, and just be likable, be Christ-like, be loving. Um, let's see. In fact, in the United States, let's see, list of largest religions in the United States. I know that, yeah, look at this right here. Let's go to Wikipedia again. So our church, if you break it down this way, if you don't break down like the different Christian denominations, so Protestants are 40% of the United States, Catholics are 21%, and then our church is 2%. Let's see, this is, yeah, religion in the United States. So it's not just looking at Christianity. Yeah, because you have Judaism down here. It's interesting that Judaism is also at 2%. And we've talked about that before. The number of people in these two religions, our church and in Judaism, are actually roughly the same, both in the United States and outside the United States and worldwide, which I don't think is a coincidence. You look at Muslims here, they're only 1% in the United States. So that could be another thing that's going against them is there's not enough of them to, uh, because like when you don't know much about another group of people or another religion, another country, ignorance a lot of times will drive suspicion and hate and stuff like that. So that could be one of the biggest things going against us. Now, I just put out a poll on the community tab. Let me refresh this. I wanted to get your guys' take on why this is, why we're viewed so unfavorably. And I put down the YouTube will only let me put 5 different options. So you'll have to forgive me if my polling isn't the best. I'm limited by how many questions I can put. But these are the different categories that I put. I just wanted to know, what do you think is the leading reason why we're viewed unfavorably? Is it because of our missionaries? Because people, don't like that we're such a proselytizing church? Is it because of our political views? Because in the United States, anyway, um, members of the church tend to skew a little bit more, or a lot a bit more on the conservative side and Republican. Is it because the difference that we have from other Christian denominations? Is it because of our standards? Because we live the word of wisdom? And for example, let me give you just a little example. When we moved here to this small town here in Kansas, we're the only active members in this town. There's a couple other members, but they're pretty inactive. We were invited over to some people's house that like it, It was my oldest daughter's two teachers. They like came around Halloween. They were doing like a little cute little thing for the kids where they were actually bringing candy to each house and meeting with the parents and stuff. And one of the teachers, I don't know, they just like seemed to like us and they invited us over. They're like, "Hey, we should like get together, we have a daughter, or we have our friend has a daughter that's hitting it off really good with your daughter. Like, we should all get together." So we went to their house. Excuse me. Where we were invited to their house. It was going to be like, let's see, one, two, three, four other couples other than us, all about the same age as us. And when they called, to get ready for this party, they're like, "All right, so I just have to ask, are you guys more wine people or beer people?" And we were like, "Well, we're actually not either of those. We don't drink alcohol." And even though we said it really nice and stuff, it felt like it was kind of awkward and kind of like, "Oh, okay, that's weird." So I just wonder if sometimes people look at our church, the things that are, and they see us not do things that are very common in the world, uh, like tattoos, the word of wisdom, modesty, just stuff like that. Not spending money on Sundays, which I know that there's a lot of other Christians that have no problem spending money on Sundays. Could it be all those differences that kind of put people off? I don't know. I think sometimes, yeah. So as you can see, as of right now, let me update it again. I doubt that it's changed too much. So surprisingly, not many of you think that it's missionaries. Um, I'm actually not sure how I would answer this. I would probably go with this too. Honestly, the differences that we have from other Christian denominations. So far, that's in the lead with 47% out of 43 people that have responded. Let's take a look at the comments. Uh, Kristen Buck says, "I believe it's due to misinformation about the church that is being blasted everywhere. Also, I think there are members who hurt the church with how judgmental and rude they can be. My daughter left the church, and I'm trying to get her to see that the actions of members don't represent the church. Last year, a lady with a CTR sticker on her minivan flipped my daughter off in the pickup lane at school, and she had a negative encounter at the grocery store with someone in a BYU hoodie. We are being watched, and we need to do better at being Christ-like." Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing that we have to remember about people like that. And I don't know these people, obviously, but we know that we're mixed. There are wheat and there are tares. And the tares definitely make us look bad because they're not real. They're not the real thing. They don't mind flipping people off. Who cares? They're going to church for some ulterior motive. Okay. CIA missionary. Ooh, CIA missionary. Uh, Trying to convert us to the CIA. All a lot of all the above, in my opinion. I guess it's just being a peculiar people. Yeah. Mopaditi says, "Because of the influence of Satan." Snowy Range says, "Misconceptions spread by other people, including apostates." Elizabeth Baker says, "False representation from media, members that have left the church, and determination from Satan to bring down the kingdom of God. Satan is the king of distortion and lies." Yeah. Um, Gosh, I wish there was a way to like really dig into this and like find out the truth and why this is, but it probably is a mix of just all these things. Um, Hold on. Okay, I had to sneeze. So anyway, so far, difference from other Christian denominations is taking the cake, and I think that's probably, yeah, that probably is the leading cause. Honestly, that probably is. Okay, so let's get back to it. Just go for a few more minutes here. Um, Americans tend to rate their own religious groups positively. You don't say. The groups examined all rate themselves favorably on balance. For instance, about 8 in 10 U.S. Jews, 81%, rate views rate Jews vary or somewhat favorably versus just 2% who express unfavorable views. Similarly, 80% of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints view Mormons favorably, while just 3% hold an unfavorable opinion. So let's look at this. So the breakdown here, Jews are at the top with 81%. Or I guess let's go with the balance of opinion, favorable to unfavorable. So Jews are at the top with 79 points, and then our church at 78, and then atheists with 70, and then Catholics with 62. I wonder why that is. I'm pretty sure that if you were to compare Catholics to a lot of other groups, you'd have a lot more um, inactive people and a lot more like atheists, agnostics among them. Okay. And I say that just based on my experience when I went to Spain and with my family, because my mom's side of the family, they're all Catholic. And it's really only like the older generation that seems to care about their beliefs, whereas if you have like you look at the younger crowd, they're mostly just Catholic because they were baptized Catholic, and so technically they're Catholic, but they're not really. You know what I mean? Like I said, they're sometimes atheists. They're not really Catholic. They're agnostic. They're Buddhist or some other church. So I have to question that one. If you were to take true Catholics that actually believe, and they're not just technically Catholic because they were baptized when they were a baby, I wonder if that would be higher. Okay, let's move on. In contrast, Mormons, atheists, and Muslims are viewed unfavorably on balance by Americans both overall and outside of each of these groups. For example, about a quarter of U.S. adults who are not members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints report negative views of Mormons compared with 14%. Okay, well, that's nothing new. Let's see. The rising share of Americans known as atheists. What's this about? Okay. With some exceptions, most Americans are personally acquainted with members of the religious groups that the survey examined. For instance, nearly 9 in 10 Americans, 88%, know someone who's Catholic. A rising share of Americans also personally know an atheist. In 2019, 65% of Americans reported that they knew an atheist. In the new survey, 71% say the same. So, rising share of Americans know an atheist. The percent of U.S. adults who say they know someone who is Catholic. Wait, I don't understand what this is saying. The percent of U.S. adults who say they know someone who is Catholic. So this is from 2019 to 2020. Oh, I see. Okay. So I was wondering if this entire thing had to do with atheists. No. So from 2019 until now, we've gone from 91% who say that they knew someone that was Catholic in 2019 down to 88% in 2022. That seems like a pretty drastic change. Atheists, they're like one of the only ones that have gone up from 65% to 71%. That is quite a leap, and maybe disturbing, because is that because there's more atheists now? Is atheism on the rise? Probably. It might be one of the reasons. Jewish went down from 68 to 64. Uh, Evangelicals, basically the same, just from 65 to 64. And then Mainline, exactly the same. They stayed at 64%. Muslims went from 47 to 50. And then our church went from 47 down to 43. So that's not good. You guys, we have got to engage with the rest of the world. We really do. Not just for proselyting purposes, but we need to make sure that we need to do our best just to let the world know that we love them. Um, I think a lot of times people are off put by the idea that we believe that we're the one true church, and so therefore they're like, "What, you think you're better than me?" And so there's that kind of attitude. But if we engage more with others, they'll see that we really do love them, and it's not like, "Well, yeah, you're not part of the true church, so you're just garbage." Um, Non-Mormons who know someone who is Mormon not only are more likely than those who don't express a favorable view toward Mormons, but also are more likely to express an unfavorable view. Okay, so you take a non-Mormon who knows someone who is Mormon, and they're more likely, okay, not only are they more likely to express a favorable view, but also more likely to express an unfavorable view. Okay, so I think what that's saying is if you take someone that's not members of the church, they're either like more likely to like really like us or really not like us. Am I reading that correctly? I think I am. So I would take that to mean that interactions with us are very charged, which makes sense. With the dividing of wheat in tares, not just within the church, but in the world in general, um, you're probably going to have a much more, I don't know how to say it, sifting type experience, maybe with us, or you're just going to be like, basically, this is another way of saying either you hate us or you love us. If you come across us, you either hate us or love us, and that would make sense, I think, for the true church. I think that makes sense. It's probably more complicated than just that, but that could be one of the bigger parts of that. Um, what's this? Although 54% of Mormons feel positively toward evangelical Christians, the feelings are not reciprocal. You don't say. 15% of born again or evangelical Protestants feel positively toward Mormons, compared with 27% who express negative views. Yeah, and that's not really a surprise at all. You spend any amount of time in this church and you quickly learn that that's the case. Um, I think I'll end it there. So, just some interesting things to think about. Like I said, I think the takeaway is we need to be more engaged in society. And that doesn't mean don't homeschool, but make sure that you are. Um, I'm not trying to pick on homeschooling either. Just make sure that you're part of the community. Be involved in your community, in civics, in just whatever clubs, whatever. Yeah. So right now, 68 votes. It's still differences from other Christian denominations, and I don't have any new. Oh wait, yeah, there are a couple new comments. Okay, because of incorrect view. Okay, because of the incorrect view that God is a punishing God instead of a loving one, who would as soon put his arms around you. Also, because there are a lot of false information out there about our early church history. That's why I love it when you have Hannah Stoddard from the Joseph Smith Foundation on. That's from Tiff Dom. Thank you. Jan Myers, I've had many people assume we are not Christians, don't celebrate Christmas, think we are worshiping Joseph Smith, still practice polygamy, and much more. We, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, are greatly misunderstood and accused of many wrong beliefs and practices. Yeah, that's true, because you have the splinter groups where people who don't know anything about the church, they're like, oh, well, that's what a Mormon is. They do polygamy. And, there's a generally negative perception of polygamy. So I'd like to bear my testimony says it's pretty hard to believe. It's pretty hard to have a people be understanding of your religion when other people are constantly accusing you of things you don't actually believe. In dying, you do believe what you do believe. Or telling you you do. When other churches have classes on why they shouldn't listen to you, it becomes impossible to see us as being on the same team as Jesus. We become the Dumbledore to their Fudge, if you know what I mean. I actually don't, but I'm sure other people do. I'm assuming that's a Harry Potter reference. I haven't read the Harry Potter movies, or I haven't read the Harry Potter books, or I've only seen like the movies, but I haven't really cared too much for them. Old Crow, members treating others poorly, gossiping or gossip, lying, etc. My former bishop threatened to divulge what I shared with him in a private meeting at church. He did so because he was asked to apologize for spreading lies and gossip about my husband. Stake leadership does nothing about it. Oh, geez. Let's do this last one. I believe it's due to misinformation about. Oh, we've already read this one. This is what the lady with the CTR bumper sticker who flipped somebody off. That's just awesome. I'm being sarcastic, of course. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this one. So, again, make sure to share the Book of Mormon. Let me know once you do, and we'll keep this thing going. It encourages other people to participate. If you haven't, make sure to do it. If you've only shared a few, try and get to 10. Please try and get to 10. And then if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.